All right, let's talk about something that could genuinely change how you tackle, well, everything. We're going to look at an ancient fix for a very modern problem: burnout. It's all about finding a better way to get things done without just pushing harder. You know this feeling, right? That constant pressure to do more, post more, be more. You're on this hamster wheel of hustle, just grinding it out. But at the end of the day, you're exhausted and feel like you haven't actually gone anywhere. But what if the problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough? What if you're just trying the wrong way? Okay, so let's get right into it. The heart of the problem is something we can call the tiptoe trap. It's this belief that if you just force it, if you strain and perform and hustle, you'll get ahead. But here's the crazy part. Wisdom from literally thousands of years ago warned us that this is a complete recipe for failure. And check this out. It's wild how perfectly these ancient warnings nail our modern world. Tiptoeing can't stand tall. I mean, that's the frantic 80-hour work week that just leads to total burnout, isn't it? Boasting achieves nothing? Hello, empty influencer culture, where someone goes viral for a day and is forgotten by the next? It's like they saw the anxieties of our century coming from 2 millennia away. So why do we keep falling for this trap? Well, it's not just some philosophical error. It's actually a biological one. The root cause is our own ego, and it fuels this whole cycle of self-sabotage. This says it all, really. Think about it. All that frantic hustle, the boasting, the self-promotion, it gives you this quick hit, right? A little sugar rush of validation. But just like junk food, it leaves you feeling kind of sick and empty in the long run, with nothing real to show for it. And there's actual science behind this. When you force things and you boast, your brain gets a quick little shot of dopamine. It feels good and it's addictive. But at the same time, you're creating what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Your brain is struggling because all that loud self-promotion is really just papering over a deep insecurity. And guess what? People can feel that. They sense the inauthenticity and they instinctively just pull back. And here's the hard data to prove it. Studies have found that humble leaders, the ones who don't have to force their authority, earn a whopping 25% more loyalty from their teams. So, here's the real takeaway. Humility isn't just some nice soft virtue. It's a strategic advantage. It flat out works better. So, if forcing things and letting your ego run the show is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's about making a shift from that forced, grinding effort to what we can call effortless flow. This is the Taoist alternative. Just look at this contrast here. Instead of that frantic tiptoeing, you find a sustainable pace. You know, like an elite athlete who knows that rest days are actually part of what makes them a champion. And instead of that arrogant, I know everything attitude, you embrace what you could call curious humility. Kind of like that brilliant doctor who isn't afraid to say I don't know in front of their team, because that's what leads to collaboration and actually saving the patient's life. Okay, so how can you actually do this? Like starting today? It really boils down to 4 practical changes. First, practice anti-hustle. Take real breaks away from your screens. Second, try the no boast rule. Let your work speak for itself. Let other people sing your praises. Third, embrace enoughness. Focus on goals that create real impact, not just vanity metrics like how many followers you have. And finally, lead with questions. Stop making statements and start asking things to unlock the genius of everyone around you. Now, let's see what happens when these 2 philosophies get put to the test in the real world. This is where it gets really interesting, because the difference between forcing and flowing becomes crystal clear. On one side, you've got WeWork. Remember them? Fueled by this massive ego and these huge, loud promises, its valuation exploded and then completely, spectacularly collapsed by over $47 billion. But then on the other side, you have a company like Basecamp. For more than 20 years, they've been quietly profitable, building a sustainable business with 0 outside funding. They just focused on their product and their people. Or take this example, FTX. They put on this huge public song and dance about effective altruism, all while, committing massive fraud behind the curtain. The performance was everything.
And then you have Patagonia. With no big press conference, no flashy announcement, the founder just quietly transferred the entire $3 billion company to a trust to fight climate change. One was a loud, empty promise. The other was quiet, world-changing action.
And this, right here, is the core lesson from those stories. When you see someone constantly forcing, shouting, and promoting themselves, you're not actually looking at strength. You're looking at insecurity. Real mastery, it's quiet. It doesn't need to shout from the rooftops. It just is. So what does all of this mean for you? Because really, understanding these two paths isn't just some interesting thought experiment. It's about the kind of legacy you choose to build. Get a load of this statistic. It's absolutely staggering. Companies that are led with humility last, on average, 7 times longer than other companies. 7. The quiet, sustainable way doesn't just feel better day to day, it actually builds things that last for generations. So here's the bottom line. Stop trying so hard to act important and instead focus on the work that will actually make you important. And that means choosing consistent, quiet action over loud promises. It means choosing collaboration over self-promotion, and it means choosing sustainable rhythms over those frantic burnout sprints. That is the real path. So that leaves us with one last question, something for you to really think about. Knowing now that what you build quietly and authentically will always outlast what you shout loudly, what will you choose to build?